The StarCraft world is yet again on fire. What happened? I wasn't even done with my intro yet! The StarCraft world is yet again on fire. 300 mineral command centers are the latest recipe for disaster. Now, spawning right here in the upper left-hand corner, a man who really wasn't enjoying 5.0.16 very much, at least prior to the command center cost change. I'm sure he's thinking differently right now. We're looking inside of the main base of Clem, the world's best Terran player. His opponent down in the bottom right, we have the world's very best Protoss. We're looking inside of the main base of Hero. So this is played on the brand new balance patch. It's 5.0.16b. There's a lot of changes made, especially for this particular matchup. But while the Colossus change is nice, the Disruptor change is, well, kind of controversial. By far, the most controversial thing is the fact that command centers are now 300 minerals rather than 400. And I honestly don't think it's going to be here to stay for very long. Look at this. Clem is going CC first against Terran. Or he's playing Terran against Protoss. Quality cast so far. You gotta say, the professionalism here is just off the charts today. Can you go? I wonder, right? So this is what I've been thinking about. There's a best of 5 between these two. Can you go barracks, command center, or like command center, barracks, command center? Can you do all of it off of just one supply depot? Because when you think about it, command centers, yes, they're cheaper, but they're also basically giant supply depots. You need one depot in order to put down, for example, a barracks and to actually be able to then go factory, starport, and all the rest of it. But I think you're gonna be able to reliably open up right now triple command center as Terran every single game. We just watched the highlight clip, actually, of Hero Marine having 36 orbital commands against the Zerg player on the ladder. 36! Honestly, basically, right? Anytime you build a command center, you get like 2 Marines for free, or like 1 Hellion for free. There's a lot of early game variety because of that, but what I'm a little bit afraid of, what's actually very likely to happen, is that Terran players are just gonna try and use this now as an opportunity to then buy another command center. The idea is to increase variety, but what I'm a little bit afraid of, and what I think will likely end up happening, or what will probably end up happening, is, well, Terran players are gonna sit back, enjoy their additional command centers, and turtle up some more. Only time will tell. But I do have the feeling that this is not gonna be a change that will be here for a very long time. But at the very least, right now, if you're a Terran player, I think it is a very fun moment to at least enjoy the way that things currently are. By the way, we are just still on a single supply depot. When are we gonna make another one? Oh, he's gonna make one right now. Ah. Now, this was actually played, I think, the day after the patch came out. So, 5.0.16b. So, that does mean that this is likely, well, not their first games that they're playing with this new change. But it will, yeah, likely need a little bit more refinement as well, moving forward. We'll see what it ultimately ends up being like. It's going to be a Twilight Council here for Hero, who will likely enjoy a much more free early game. I don't really think we're going to see a lot of early game pressure from Terrans right now, although obviously you certainly could. We did see quite a bit of that actually in the viewer tournament, where Terrans would go quick triple TC, or CC, and then add on a couple Hellions that were basically free. Suddenly the early game aggression is way more terrifying, but we'll find out. There's going to be a Cyclone here on the back of all of this. Starport as well. So this is basically just the same build that we have seen most of the time from Terrans on the new patch so far, but then a little bit quicker. What else has changed for Protoss? Well, the Warp Gate units are now even faster to produce. So I don't believe there's really a good reason right now, with the additional increase on the production speed yet again with Warp Gates research done. I don't think there's really a reason right now for Protoss, other than hitting supply blocks, to be transforming their Warp Gates. Because it's now a 50% production speed increase. Look at this. Look how fast that sentry is pumped out. That's crazy. That's so quick. As a matter of fact, since it's 50% right now, I think the only time you really want to have these structures in Warp Gate mode is if you are being aggressive on the other side of the map. I think once you go back home and you try to defend again, you probably want to transform the Warp Gates back to regular gateway mode, because the production is just way faster. you can just get away with, you just have to pay the cost, like, once, right? If you pay the gateway tax one time, you can freely go in between warp gates and gateways. It just, yeah, is a little bit of time investment, I suppose. Although they also did buff the amount of time that it takes to transform the gateways to warp gates and from warp gates back to gateways again. So that used to be quite a slow animation. That animation has now also been sped up. Furthermore, things like, for example, Colossi now deal more damage across the board, other than to light units. So damage to light units is the same, but in this particular matchup, it's primarily to things such as, for example, Marauders, where Colossi are going to be more powerful. Very conservative start actually here for Clem. We're gonna go into a third command center, but it's by no means the fastest possible third command center. As a matter of fact, we've got ourselves a Nexus over here at the bottom. Yeah, third base already coming up. Both players are really just settling into a nice little macro game. Raven going around. High ground vision is provided by the hallucinated Phoenix here, but that's not really going to be able to do all too much. We're going to see a recall now. He wants to intercept it. A Raven is going to go down. Nicely done right here by Hero. Big shout out, by the way, to Wardy, who sent over this this specialty replay pack right after it was played. He basically gave the special YouTube delivery, is what he called it. That's literally the name of the file, youtubedelivery.zip. So this was a show match organized by Wardy, specifically to highlight all of the new changes. Robo Bay on the back of this right now for Hero. I think going Colossi is a really good choice. It already was in this matchup, but right now it really is going to be substantially better. And Clem really not playing around the cost of the command center very much just yet. He's basically just giving himself an extra couple hundred minerals, right? But that's really all we have right now. We just have 200 additional minerals that we normally would have. So that is the equivalent of, well, 4 Marines. But that's really about it. Command center is going to be landed down on the low ground over at the triangle location. +1 coming up. Concussive shells is going to be done as well in a moment. Clem is thinking about testing the waters a little bit, but he's being rather passive here in the first game of this match. By the way, if indeed this does get proven to be absolutely busted in favor of Terran, right? Considering Zerg already had like a couple of weeks of being very overpowered as well. Protoss, I guess, needs to get their next step in, right? I mean, if Terran gets to be broken for the next couple of weeks, then I feel like Protoss, it would only be fair. Protoss needs to get something too. I'm interested in hearing your thoughts. How could Protoss become maybe a little bit busted as well with just one very small change? What could you do to make Protoss too strong? Another Nexus coming up. Make the Nexus 300 minerals. Give the Mothership Core back as an option in the earlier stages of the game. Increase the strength of the shield battery overcharge. Make Dark Templar cheaper. Zealots now spawn in pairs of 2. What else can you do? A Vortex gets added back onto the Mothership. The good old Archon toilet. There's a lot of things you could do to make it really busted. Honestly though, I really did not expect, like all jokes aside, I got like a dozen Discord messages on the day that Blizzard released the patch where they made the command center cheaper, and I did not believe it. It's such a stupid change. I know there's a lot of people currently trying to justify it, but it's such an insane change. Here we go, Hero is testing the waters. Maybe I'll be proven wrong, right? Maybe I'll be proven wrong and we will all think of this as like a very normal thing in a week or two from now. But the fact that hatcheries are 300 minerals, only provide a couple of supply. Obviously, you have to add in the cost of the drone as well. Nexi are 400. And Terran get orbital commands for 450? Somehow the extra 100 minerals gets added to the planetary fortress of all things? It seems extremely counterintuitive to everything else that the patch is trying to do. I really didn't think it was real. Until I opened up the game and I saw the patch notes, and it turned out to be, well, very real. Hero trying to make the best of all of this, though. He's been given a ton of freedom here by Clem. Clem playing a remarkably passive game. Yeah, really just allowing Hero here to do whatever he likes. He fires up the 2-2 research. We've got some additional barracks as well inside of the main base here, so there's going to be barracks 6, 7, and 8. Second factory coming up. But this is a distraction. The main Protoss army is now on the right side of Rainfall. Planetary Fortress not yet done. Planetary is actually kind of expensive. Yeah, he's not making a planetary. He's going to go for an orbital. Zealots in the meantime also inside of the main base. Command Center will indeed lift off, but it's not going to be in time. That is the Command Center dying. What if Terran players are now magically tricked into believing that planetary fortresses are unplayable because they now appear to be more expensive, even though the cost is identical to what they always have been in the first 16 years of StarCraft 2? This is ultimately, though, a lot of Protoss units dying here, and probably not a good call for Hero at all. If you look at the army over time, yeah, Hero's supply count just took an absolute nosedive. He needs to bounce back real quick. Obviously, Clem's economy is indeed down the drain, but Command Center losses are not as expensive as they once used to be. 9 SCVs is kind of bad, but not the end of the world. We already have a new CC coming up. Yeah, normally killing the base is actually a tremendous problem for Terran, but now he can actually quite easily remake it. Two is going to be done for Clem in a moment. I think it would be really nice to see him go for an all-out attack here in just a moment. Nexus on the right side of the map, of course, gone. No cancel, so that is all the resources. Command Center right over here gets rebuilt too. One thing, though, that we do get is the original Terran music and a lot of regular production cycles here out of Gateways. Okay. Prepare to head bob. Dancing your chairs. Such a beautiful tune. Play it at my funeral, please. Are there any more big live events coming? I don't know. Terran here very low on the medevac count. We have 7 of them, but I don't know where they are. We're busy trying to stutter step a bunch of the Vikings up in the air too. But this is all a little bit messy. Both players actually making some errors here. I'm surprised that Clem let Hero max out once more. He was in a really comfortable spot to go across the map. But it's like Clem is basically saying, yo, I'm not gonna really do anything until I'm fully maxed out. And until I get all of my upgrades done as well. So 3-3 has been fired up. Clem hasn't even seen the other side of the map very much. Couple scans, couple medevacs, but that's really about it. Fusion core inside of the main base. Second starport already done, so we're going to be able to pump out Liberators 4 at a time. Keep in mind that Ghosts are now also 2 supply each. Ghosts being 2 supply each is mostly, I think, applicable for Terran versus Zerg, but it is certainly very nice as well for Terran versus Protoss. It just basically means that your ultimate army is going to be a little bit bigger. Now, you don't really normally make like 20 Ghosts against Protoss, but even if you make like 6, you're still going to be able to add 6 additional Marines in the mix, which is not bad. What is this? Clem. It's the most cursed gas mining I've seen in a bit. Anyways, big fight happening right over here in the middle. Stalkers here are very exposed, though, and the Vikings are absolutely destroying it. Yes, the planetary dice. Look at that, 188 minerals back. That's kind of weird, but I think the Terran army is reigning supreme here on the ground. We have Hero trying to make a mass transition here towards Disruptors. So Disruptors, because of their Phantom weapon, are technically now a little bit easier to use against Terran. So it is maybe going to be impactful, but I don't think it really matters that much for somebody like Hero. He should be okay either way. Likewise, Clem, he is really good at microing against those units. And seeing the Disruptors right now may very well trigger some of that Liberator production. Ghost Academy coming up. 3-3 infantry weapons, though, are going to be done in just a moment. Big recall. Oh, very large recall, actually. He's going to be sending a large chunk of his army towards the bottom left. That's now going to leave a lot of this exposed. Really only a handful of zealots in 1 sentry. A couple disruptors. Still, though. Maybe a bit more than just a handful of zealots. They don't really scale that nicely deep into the game. There's the Liberators coming up. Hero is taking the entire map, by the way, but I feel like Clem is kind of allowing it. Clem's playing a very passive game. And I kind of feel like it's unnecessary. All the landed Vikings here, by the way. Widowmine trying its absolute best to get some good hits in as well. Disruptor does move down the right side ramp. Yeah, I've got a feeling Clem could have been a lot more feisty throughout this game in general. I guess he's just testing all of the changes, seeing what it all feels like in a big macro game like this. You do certainly still have to respect Protoss, though, because given enough time, Hero will take the entire map. The Purification Novas here are all very good. Hero's starting to break through all of this. With all of the landed Vikings now gone, we can go back into Colossus production very nicely. Another Purification Nova, at least attempted. Marauder is the only unit that gets hit this time around, though. Yeah, the final shot there of that one did not really do any damage. But Hero still has 82 workers. He may have lost quite a few probes. Actually, it's only 3 somehow. We've had a lot of harassment on the bases, but only 3 workers have died. Yeah, I guess it's because Clem is not really playing to the style that we normally see him play. Normally, Clem is going around the map, raiding with small little pockets of units, like, for example, this. But really, we've seen a, well, very, very small amount of Terran harassment thus far. Where are we going, lads? Alright, 13 probes. We should probably go after the Nexus. Either way, there is a big fight right over here in the middle. Hero very quick to remax out. There are a few Liberators available, but not nearly as many as you really want here as the Terran player. And you know what? Maybe command centers are cheaper now, but Hero is still an absolute monster. A lot of probes did die. Nexus over here also went down. We see the bottom left-hand corner now in a world of trouble. Liberators are just picking off whatever they can. Loads of SCVs are dying. Suddenly the gloves are off. That's another Nexus falling. There is another base actually for Protoss a little bit further up north. Clem has indeed seen it. So he'll be moving his army on over in that direction in just a moment. Top right-hand corner taken here as well by Hero. So these should be another 2 bases that Clem can reasonably easily pick off. Nice EMP right there, preventing the warp-in from finishing up. Only actually a Prism got a recall to go then in for a very quick warp-in. Hero, no! Hero, you don't want to be throwing it right now, my man. He just lost so many units there. So wait, we do a giant pylon warp-in, lose the pylon, recall a Prism, and then lose the Prism after also oh my god. Ay, ay, ay. Look away, Protoss players. This was the most Hero sequence of events I've seen in a while. I have never seen that before, man. You recalled a single Prism, only to rinse and repeat the exact same thing. Suddenly, even though Clem has been having a rough time in this game overall, suddenly he's finding himself with 80 supply up. Calm and collected. Yeah. Hero is not quite used, I don't think, to Clem playing it this passively for pretty much the entirety of the game. But when Clem suddenly switches it on, the aggression is relentless. GG gets called. It's the Frenchman who gets the win in game number 1. Game number 2, we find ourselves on the map Rorschach. I think we go depot, barracks, command center, command center. Command center, command center, command center. Maybe a couple units as well in between, but I feel like that's gotta be the build order. Maybe I'm wrong. Write that down, though, if you're a Terran player. You can now get 4 command centers for the price of 3. That's pretty good. The memes, by the way, in the StarCraft community have been excellent. If you've not been looking around on the internet very much, I highly recommend you maybe, do so for just a moment. It seems like there's roughly like 3 types of posts at the moment. The first type of post is people making memes. Like, for example, Oprah Winfrey memes, right? Of everybody getting a command center. I've been seeing loads of memes going around. The second type of post that I see quite frequently at the moment is players being very upset about the command center cost increase, or decrease rather. So players saying that the game is now unplayable, and that apparently the entire ladder is Terran versus Terran, and that Zerg is no longer able to win, and yada yada yada. And then the third type of post, and these actually may secretly be my favorite, is Terran players justifying the 300 command center cost. Yeah. They're saying, well, gateway production is faster now. Zergs had a little bit more larva spawn as well, of course, so therefore everything is okay, and really we just need more time for the meta to settle. And maybe they're right. I don't think so, but... I don't think so. I think you gotta enjoy this week. Whatever the Blizzard intern gets to have a look at StarCraft 2 again. I think we're probably gonna see some adjustments to scale all of it back, but... At least as far as win rates go, over the last couple days, Terrans have been eating pretty good. Man, we're going second supply depot? It's gotta be a mistake, no? For only 200 minerals more, you can get a big command center. Are you stupid? Why would you go and make a supply depot when it can't even make SCVs? Second probe is gonna die. Not bad. Gonna go into a good old sentry. I've seen, by the way, the world be very divided on the gateway change. I personally really do quite like it. I really like the idea of going back and forth between gateway and warp gate mode. I know a lot of people just want to go in for every warp gate, every single game, but I think it's kind of fun, man. It's like an additional layer of thinking right now, right? That is required. You do have to obviously hotkey the structures. If you weren't doing that already, you better get used to the habit, but I mean, that's no different than, well, Terrans or Zergs, right? You gotta just hotkey all of it. I think it'd be really fun if this is indeed something that's here to stay. I feel like one of the real ironies, though, with this new patch is that the main goal has been, right, at least from what we understand, to increase variety. Now, I understand that changing the starter work account forces you to make some additional adjustments as well, as we have sentries moving across the map right now. Huh. Anyways, if you want to increase variety, though, right, especially early on, then why not make certain units that are currently not really viable more viable? I'm always thinking of the battle cruiser. I freaking love battle cruisers, as we have a decent set of force fields. Oh, does he not get the final hit? Oh my god, really? That's crazy. I mean, he's gonna have to repair that bad boy up, though. The SCVs are already waiting. Okay. That was very risky by Clem. But he does save it, just barely. But yeah, if you have underutilized units in the game, right? Like, for example, the battle cruiser, like, for example, the swarm host. There's a bunch of examples out there. Should we not be buffing them up a little bit in some way? Is that not a... I don't know. If we want to increase variety, would that not be a bad... I don't know. All right, it's going to be a very quick Glaives follow-up right now for Hero. Look at this. Not commonly played here in this particular setup. But Hero is just going to start pumping those units out. So, one of the changes that they made as well to the Adept, and looking at the patch notes, I couldn't immediately tell how much of an impact this is ever going to have, but basically Adepts now benefit more from Forge upgrades. Meaning that you can indeed, potentially at least, scale these units into the late game. Now, most of the time as a Protoss, if you want to go for a run-by type of unit, you go for Zealots. If you want to go for a ranged unit, you go for Stalkers, at least later on into the game. But man, is Hero getting so many units out so quick. So, he's got 4 gateways here, regular gateways just producing. They're building so quick that he can't even keep all of them producing. Like, he's cutting worker production right now. He's actually hitting a supply block. Hero catching himself off guard with how fast those adepts are spawning. He decides to now cancel some of the new ones in production just so he can make a command center here. A Protoss command center, that is. Because I guess he was a little surprised. Oh no, wait, we go back to production right now. Oh, this is weird. Yeah, so Hero definitely late on the additional pylons because the warp gates were producing so rapidly. Let's see though, if this actually is a good strat. +1 attack is also very much so delayed with this type of push. Clem now sees a bunch of adepts spawning, but the upgrade isn't yet done. Hero decides to send it anyways. He's just got to spawn straight on top of this siege tank from the high ground, though, having a grand old time. And this has got to be one of the worst executions on an adept push that I have seen in recent memory. Right now, the upgrade is nearly done, but still not finished. He was supply blocked at 70-something. For like a minute. Oh. Okay. Yeah, this is gonna require some more refinement. I think that's a strategy that's dangerous for Terrans to go up against. I really don't know how good it's truly going to be. But that was by no means the perfect execution. Now suddenly, Clem is on the horizon with +1, combat shields and Stimpack. So, big power spike here for Terran. If he wants to go across the map, right now would be a decent time to do so. Although he did scout with a Marine and saw that there was no quick third Nexus here, so maybe you don't really even have to bother. Command Center number 3. We're gonna add on 2 additional barracks. That's gonna bring the grand total up to 5. We no longer have the rapid pickup hotkey on the Medivacs. So that's a little bit of a shame. Clem was certainly enjoying it. They said they reverted it so they can bring it back at a later time, which I honestly think is a bit of a shame. I really don't think it should be added back in. But I know some people disagree. I always feel that Medivac Micro in particular is such a strong skill expression for Terran. That reducing that skill expression is bad. Now, this is also bad, though. Ooh, no blink available, man. It's so weird to be this deep into the game as he hits another supply block. Ugh. It's so weird to not have blink done, though, at this stage. It's because we went for the Glaives research first. Hero is not used to the timing of pylons yet at all. The extra production speed on the gateways has been noticeable. Now, what he is doing is building up a Nexus at the 12 o'clock position here on Rorschach. So this is a golden base. Clem doesn't know of it, although he's got Jimmy wandering around. And Clem is always very sharp with this sort of thing. He's going to find out about it in just a moment. Yep. Now, this is something that needs to be addressed. You cannot allow this as a Terran. The base is not yet done, so there's not a ton of urgency, but you're always worried that probes will get recalled towards it, and that we are going to see a lot of units just transferred on over there, and that suddenly the Protoss economy is too big to deal with. We have another supply block! Hero! Brother, this is the 3rd supply block that I've caught! What is this? He's also still making adepts, by the way. We're making adepts 10 minutes into the game on a Terran versus Protoss map. I don't know if that's a good idea. Yeah, they benefit from upgrades more. We have +2 attack done. That's nice and all. Hero actually still has a ton of supply. That's the crazy part. Hallucinated Colossus. Look at the Glaive Adepts coming in. Oh, I think the Hallucinated Colossus is working. The entire Terran army decides to retreat. Here we go, though. Good splitties there. Ultimately, the Widowmines don't really get a whole lot of damage done. Wait a second. Wait a second. Hero is not executing this game properly at all. There's so much room for improvement, but he did just win the fight. Here's the rest of the Terran army, though, showing up. We have more and more adepts, but the problem is the adepts are being built at home. As far as I can tell, yeah, he never transformed them into warp gates. I think with this base done at the 12 o'clock position, right now would have been the perfect time to get the warp gates going instead. Hero, though, just trying to make units out of it one at a time. Clem is starting to push all of this away. And I think the Nexus may be toast here in the end. Man, imagine if the execution, though, here for Hero was just ever so slightly better. He would have 100% stopped this. Right? Like, imagine, seriously, if he did not hit the 3 supply blocks that I saw, he would have had enough units, and I think he would have been able to push away this army, celebrate with a gold base, bada bing, bada boom. We have an entirely different game. Alrighty. That takes us to Eternity's Edge. A 2-0 lead here for Clem. But I honestly feel like it was also due to the fact that Hero just forgot making pylons. It's a very uncharacteristic error for this level of StarCraft, right? I wasn't being as, I guess, clear when it comes to paying attention to Clem's supply blocks, but generally speaking at this level, you don't see players hitting supply blocks because it's just such a big hit. In the past, and I feel like Protoss has always been a little bit more forgiving as far as that goes. But in the past, right, if you hit a supply block as Protoss, you can just warp in units and things will probably turn out to be okay. At least if you're not, like, fighting right at that particular moment in the game, right? As long as you get your warp-ins in, being a couple seconds late on a pylon here and there, not that big of a deal. Obviously, for Terran, you have the luxury of being able to drop a supply depot out of the high heavens. So you can upgrade one of your supply depots for extra energy, right? And maybe that's also now buffed because the orbital commands are going to be a bit cheaper to get to. So, yeah, Terran has a pretty easy way of getting unsupply blocked. And really, Zerg is similar to Protoss in the sense that you can kind of similarly, like, save up charges of a warp gate. You can save up larva. So even if you are supply blocked, you can very easily swap on over, right? And spend all of your larva as soon as the overlords do spawn. But right now, with the way that Protoss plays, you don't really have a get out of jail for free card with the warp gate and the gateway situation right now. Units do just build so fast, though. So you can still, obviously, warp, or you can still chrono boost regular gateways too. So you can still produce really fast. So this is a, like, 50% improvement, and then this, getting the research done, is an additional 50% improvement. This is just like a flat improvement, meaning that it will indeed stack with the chrono boost as well. Meaning that you can indeed get units out faster than a slow warp in on the old patch. Which is pretty nuts. You can just keep warping in units. What do we do this time around here, Hero? I do quite like the idea of Glaive to Depths. Look at him. We're going triple gateway yet again. Triple gateway. But this is triple gateway without a Twilight Council, though. What are we gonna build? I'm assuming it's just Stalkers? Another thing, actually, that they did change with this patch, so that was already in the base version of 5.0.16, is they changed a lot of the production times of regular gateway units up. So at some point it went up, and then it went down again, and then it went up again, and went down again. I'm not ultimately really sure what we now settled on. I think it's mostly the same as on 5.0.15. But either way, a lot of the regular production values of these units were also adjusted. Marauders are now showing up on the other side of the map. Warp gates, though, are done. That's going to allow Hero to start producing units pretty fast, and he actually decides to just pay the warp gate tax this time around. We have a bunch of adepts here chasing down Marauders. How weird. Probe joining in as well. Do we let it shade forward? Oh, God. I don't think we should have let it shade forward. Luckily, right here, though, for Hero, there is no concussive shells available, which is, I guess, the reason he decided to just send it. Stalkers in the meantime on the other side of the map, trying to be as much of a nuisance as possible. Very action-packed early game, actually. 4 probes, though, is really good. It was mostly that Reaper getting so much damage done. Here's the Adept showing up. I gotta say, this matchup, I thought it would be more extreme, you know? I thought it would be more extreme. Especially in the earlier stages of the game, that the command center was cheaper. Now, Clem doesn't really appear to be playing around it very much. I think we'll mostly notice it in Terran versus Zerg. Because in Terran versus Zerg, Terrans just tend to make a lot of command centers. But TVP certainly seems very fast now. Which is kind of ironic, because we are reducing the starter work account to try and slow down the early game. So that we can then go ahead and buff every other speed up in the earlier stages of the game, so we can get up to a faster mid-game earlier on, even though we were trying to slow the game. I don't know. It's all a little bit counterintuitive. Factory is going to finally be done here in just a moment for Clem. Still with that Marauder on the other side of the map, actually getting an additional 2 kills. Charge and armor for Protoss. Okay. Stimpack done. Combat shields right now. Obviously, don't know medevacs, so any stim right now would be very costly. Are we actually just gonna fight this? Yeah, I guess we are. Man, the heavy focus on adepts at this stage in the game is so weird. At least losing this many units prevents Hero from getting supply blocked again, so that's nice. Although I would argue that maybe it's better if you don't lose any of the units in the first place. Or maybe just don't get supply blocked in the first place. But at the very least, neither player now supply blocked because they lost a ton of army. We send in more adepts. Okay. So, in this particular game, Hero is no longer really messing around with regular warp gates or regular gateways, as he just immediately paid the price. We're now doing 5 additional gateways. So what do, right? If you're a Protoss player and you have already made 3 warp gates, does that automatically mean you now have to pay the warp gate tax on every single future gateway that you produce as well? The answer is no, by the way, but does it actually work out like that in a practical game of StarCraft? Because it kind of feels like as soon as you get one of them, you kind of just have to keep paying it, because now you end up with half regular warp gates and then half regular gateways, which just feels kind of bad. Hero's actually done a phenomenal job this game, it has to be said. He's being hyper aggressive while simultaneously also building up a ton of economy. Finally, we have the 3rd command center coming up here for Clem. But Clem is getting, yeah, he's getting owned here. While the supply count is fine so far, and he's been dealing a lot of damage on the other side of the map too, 8 SCVs is just so many losses, even though you get 6 probes. Hero is going to be able to get a 4th Nexus going here in just a moment, actually. He's going to go and get a 4th Nexus up before Clem will ever really consider flying a CC down to the low ground. Nice force fields over here as well. Don't want to lose the sentries, though. I feel like losing the sentries is going to be very painful. Nice little run by. This is a beautiful drop, actually, here by Clem. A critical drop as well. Without this, I think Hero would have just, well, been out of control. Okay. Additional barracks. Command center down to the low ground. We should really be seeing another Nexus here. But I guess Hero now, after losing the workers, is a little bit hesitant. Medevac gets tickled to death. You do love to see it. Ultimately, though, the Stalkers decide to join in as well. And while fleeing back up towards the high ground, I think Clem is going to be able to force this Protoss army back home for now. Okay. Orbital Command added into the mix. Supply count still dead even. Clem wants to see whether or not there is indeed another Nexus. So far, he'll be very happy to note that there is none. Jimmy here, though, does not get the scout off because he got blasted by the Stalker army. Ooh, Hero actually needs to get some sort of economy damage done right now. Because while he was previously far ahead in that regard, right now that's no longer the case, but he does have such a massive army. Solid upgrades as well. No blink available, but he's just sending it with charge lots and a whole lot of slow stalkers. Such an action-packed game. And honestly, this does not feel like an 8-worker start, right? Like, we basically saw action right from the very beginning. It really is kind of ironic. Reducing the worker count from 12 to 8 to slow down the early game, whilst then simultaneously speeding up every other aspect for all of the races. Not exactly sure if we needed to do this, but hey, it's certainly interesting to see how all of this plays out. Hero needs to be careful, though, that he's not throwing away a few too many units. We got another group of Zealots showing up, but you can already see it reflected right now in the supply count for the Terran. So much value to be gained out of Marines, Marauders, and Medevacs, but still, Hero is here at the right place at the right time. Forces the SCV retreat. Command Center does take a bit of a beating. SCVs decide to go and repair it. Yet again, though, before the Stimpak can even wear off, Hero is engaging once more. Fourth Nexus, nearly done. Just being able to warp in off of a single pylon is also really nice. Not needing a gateway next to it anymore is actually such a big change. He's just charging in. He's just charging in. He knows there's Widow Mines, but he does not really get too afraid of them. Maybe, though, he should have backed off. Nice play right there by Clem. Gotta be wondering here as well, right? Look at the Medevacs, by the way. Look how empty they are. There's no energy on any of those Medevacs. That's crazy. Considering you have 9 Medevacs and all of them are empty, that's when you know we've had an action-packed start on this particular game. Alright, all that Clem really wants to do is just sit for a moment. He just wants to take a moment to breathe. We're going Armory. We do really want to have a second NG bay. We actually have a second NG bay, so he can go into 2-2 here pretty soon. Already, though, 5th Nexus coming up all the way up north. Second starport. Here are now planting down little proxy pylons and spotter units in general, just to see what Terran is up to. Clem doesn't really want to be too aggressive, decides to just send down his command center to the low ground. Continue macroing from there. Ranged Colossi are going to be available real soon. That's also why we need that second starport to be able to pump out Vikings 4 at a time. Okay. Hero thinking about pulling the trigger yet again. What we really have, though, is a large Protoss army as well on the right side of the map. Well, I say large, there's really not that many troops. Hero, though, being so aggressive despite being down in supply. He's making his army look way scarier than it really is. If Clem can force an engagement on the other side of the map, Hero is dead. But that's the problem. Hero is not really ever going to take the straight-up fight. He's going to send in Zealot run-bys and warp units all over the map if he needs to. Still, I think Clem really has a perfect opportunity to fight on the other side if he wants to, but he's a little bit afraid. It also feels a little bit disjointed right now, because 2-2 is still a long ways off. He did just get another command center going. Bottom left-hand corner also acquired right now by Hero, who's already all the way up to 80 probes. +3 attacks for Hero. The forges have been working overtime. Getting 3-3 going as well. Okay. Quite a bit ahead, of course, on the Terran. But eventually, Clem is going to be able to catch up. You cannot go beyond 3-3, of course. And despite the fact that this was one of the playstyles that the new patch was trying to address, it seems like it's still a viable approach. So Terran kind of stuck in their opening quadrant, Protoss gobbling up the entire map. Some of this, though, has to do with the fact that the patch is just so new, and now the command center addiction is coming in. Wait a second. First we build up so many supply depots that were maxed out, and now we begin the command center? situation. He's making more. Did I just see another one queued up? Another 2 queued up. 5 command centers, baby. Let's go. Okay. We're actually running out of real estate. Where are you gonna fit him? You can fit at least another 3 over here. Maybe 4 over here, Clem. A couple more inside of the main base. How many command centers do you want, though, as a Terran player against Protoss? Against Zerg, it's a bit of a different story. I mean, obviously, just scanning to disable the fog of war is awesome. I feel like the upper limit is probably like 10 orbitals or so. But I know Terrans sometimes get a little bit addicted. Bjorn in particular has had a bit of a command center addiction in his days. He's managed to overcome it over the last couple of months, but maybe this patch is going to bring it back again in full force. Blizzard really enabling that. We have so many things, though, building all over the map. Hero is basically just taking everything. So while we are having a bit of a skirmish right over here... Oh, look at that. Command center gets cancelled. 225 minerals back. Zealots in the main base, though, trying their absolute best. EMP does land. This is mostly just Hero trying to tear this Terran army apart in smaller chunks. We're gonna go up to 16 warp gates here in just a moment. Make it 17. If you could get the engineering base, that would be incredible. Yeah, those are definitely the main target here inside of the main base. So how many command centers do you want this Terran? Against Zerg, you probably want to have like 20. I think you probably want to have about half that against Protoss. Still nice to have, though. I mean, this is very much so Hero now masquerading as a Zerg. Just go look at the minimap right now. Clem is gonna run into the weird problem if this keeps going like this, where he will not actually have enough mineral fields and mineral lines to be mining. Like, he's got so many command centers, but you also need to actually find a place for them, right? Like, they need to have a home. This base over here is a no-brainer, but there are so many other bases out on the map that are already occupied by Protoss, even though there's no mining on it just yet. Clem does need to make sure that he finds fresh mineral lines. Zealots here charging forward again. The Vikings have taken care of all of the Colossi. That means that they can land on the ground for just a moment. There are also disruptors, though, in the back. Hero's starting to actually overwhelm this right now. Wait a second. He's starting to overwhelm this so hard right now. Still a lot of money available because Clem has been spending all the resources that he's got on more orbital commands. It's important as a Terran to not have a orbital command addiction, okay? Because you need money as well. Friends don't let friends buy orbitals. This is a weird issue that I've seen Terran players run into over the last couple years, where they make so many command centers that they have no money to then buy army with. There is a parallel to real life right there, man, and it's sad. If Clem had access to a mineral credit card right now, it would be maxed, because all he wants to do is get back up to 200 supply. And then he's not going to be able to really pay it off. And suddenly, we are dealing with a very real problem. We may already be dealing with a very real problem, though. One of the orbital commands decides to fly off. Hero's breaking open the high ground. You know what we should do? We should make the command center even cheaper so that Clem would have more money available at this stage in the game, because he's actually running out of money. He has got 11 orbital commands, so yes, that is 1,100 minerals less than he would have paid in the past. But hear me out, maybe make command centers 250 minerals. That way he would at least have a little bit more pocket change and he would be able to buy army right now. Because Hero's just sending it. Hero's basically just reinforcing this over and over and over again. And Clem is finding a very difficult path to stabilize right now. He's making as many units as he can afford, though. Again, Clem is broke. Hero can warp in tons of reinforcements. He's got 18 gateways, and because of it, he has to GG out. I didn't quite catch it on camera right here at the very end, but here was the next set of reinforcements for Hero on the right side of the map. Clem got caught in the command center trap. Maybe, right? So in one of the most recent patches, they added the ability for sensor towers to get salvaged. What about being able to salvage command centers? Everything needs to be salvageable, bro. You get 75% back on your bunker, 75% back on your orbital commands would be reasonable, no? Salvage everything. You accidentally make siege tanks when you want widow mines? Salvage the siege tanks. Yeah. Undead can do it in Warcraft 3. Oh well. In the Rainer Has Gone roguelike campaign, you can salvage bunkers for 110%. It's a beautiful mechanic. Effectively, what you can do is make bunkers, salvage them, and end up making money. It's a very curious strategy in that particular custom campaign that I enjoyed a lot. It's so stupid, but very fun to execute. Maybe adding it to multiplayer is a bit much. But it's a very ironic trap, right, for Clem to fall into. Getting carried away making command centers because they're cheaper, and now he has no money to make an actual army with. Oh, man. Yeah, that's kind of dumb. I don't even know how we got here. You know, one reason why we got here? Those Colossi that Hero was building in the previous game were all dealing more damage to Marauders. It's one of those things that visually looks identical, but the Colossus actually needs to be respected a lot more. We have a very quick concussive shells upgrade right here for Clem. This time around, okay. Hero sees it. You can warp in a remarkable amount of units though, so quickly. On regular gateways right now. It's actually insane. Hero in the previous game went all warp gates, I think. But I'm really looking forward to seeing how Protoss players are going to be able to refine the regular gateway production over the next few months. What's really kind of cool about it is that it's very flexible, right? So that's like, in a game that is as spreadsheety as StarCraft 2, it is very difficult to actually figure out, should you go warp gates, should you go show gateway, should you go back, should you only transform half of them? I don't think we'll ever really get to a very clear-cut answer anytime soon, at least. If the numbers are correct, it's going to be a very tough decision to make, and you have to be quite flexible with it. You have to be vibe gaming. No bother. Microing the sentry back. Ultimately, though, the probes are going to be able to clear all of this up. Could have probably kept the sentry alive, no? Oh, well. Bunker over here on the low ground for Clem. Twilight Council again inside our main base for Hero. So this time around, it's a double gate start. So we've seen him go 1 gate. We've seen him go triple gates. Now we're going 2 gates. What exactly do you do? What is the correct play? Well, we haven't seen any stargates. Apparently those are just completely unreasonable. Should you be able to also pay a price to transform a stargate into a warp stargate? What about a robo facility? Should you be able to warp in Colossi on a pylon? I mean, it seems kind of weird to only give it to gateways, no? Yeah, warp in a bunch of carriers. You just lost your carrier army? Bam! Here's another 12 carriers. Stimpack is going to be done in just a moment. Bit of a funky build here for the Frenchman. I hope that previous game was not telling Clem that the warp gates, or sorry, that the command center situation is not really that good. Because, like, the only game where he actually started abusing the command center buff is the game that he ended up losing because he got a little too greedy. Yeah, we're not really making that many command centers in the earlier stages of the game. I really think you could go single depot or double depot builds for a really long time. Clem instead opting to just go and play this basically like he always has, just with a few more minerals available across the board. Okay. What is kind of fun, though, is that a change as extreme as the most recent one, right? It does almost guarantee another follow-up patch in a reasonably short amount of time. I wonder what it's going to be, man. I think we're going to be able to warp in carriers or something. Warp in a Colossus. 100 minerals, 100 gas. You can now transform your warp gates or your robo facilities into a warp robo. I don't know. I'm down. I'm down for the 2 weeks where Protoss is going to be utterly busted. Blink Stalker, though, is really nice here, right? You have just so much mobility. There's still no Metavex available. Ooh, man. Really? 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 Really, hero? Really? Why didn't we blink in? There's no way. That was not the right blink. Huh? And this is the mad genius part, right? Of Hero's playstyle. When everything walks smoothly, when everything runs well, he looks really smart. But then we see him blinking forward like this just now, and he loses 13 stalkers in the process. Maybe it's still okay, because the Metavex can't really keep up. The low HP Marines and Marauders are being picked off, but Hero's making this very hard on himself. He does have a third Nexus. Worker count is dead even for now. New command center is going to be done in just a moment. Cheeky little Widowmine drop. Headed across the map. Dude, look how fast these units build. I keep looking at the little production bar. Look how fast they build. That's like, what, 11 seconds? Is it 22 seconds on a Zealot normally? So now it's 50? Like 50% off? So it's 11? It's somewhere in that neighborhood. It's basically the same as Chrono Boost, right? Because Chrono Boost increases production speed by 50%, but it stacks. So you can still Chrono Boost this as well. You get so much. And it's permanent. Kind of crazy. Still, Hero has been throwing away a lot of units. Widowmine drop! Widowmine drop! Oof. Almost disaster. There's still one probe or one Widowmine rather available for probes. Okay, that was terrible. That was actually awful. Kinda hate it. We saw that coming in from a mile away, so the Widowmines do shoot a little bit quicker than they used to. Oh no, Hero hits a supply block. Oh no, Hero, I need you to lock in, brother. Ah, he starts up pylons right now. Ah! Oh. It's so painful to see these gigantic supply blocks. Okay, Hero is basically doing nothing for like a minute. It's not quite a minute, but it feels like that amount of time. It's so bad. Because now Clem is going to be able to just skyrocket ahead supply-wise. I guess, though, with this many gateways, we can actually produce pretty quickly. Here's Clem going in again with a cheeky little Widowmine drop. This is something, by the way, that's harder to deal with, because if you are balling your units together, obviously you don't have your troops in the right position at the right time, and you can't just panic warp in some stuff. I think what you probably want to do as Protoss is split off a bunch of Stalkers, plant them over here. Like, a bunch over here, a bunch over there, right? Like, you want to have little pockets of units around your bases if you're not using them aggressively, so you can intercept medevac drops before they arrive. Suddenly, though, even though this game was going reasonably well for Hero, you can see it all reflected in the supply count. Some of that as well is because of the super aggressive Stalker shenanigans earlier on. Man, he's still just playing Stalkers. This is a scary Terran army, man. They're also 1-1 upgrades. Oh my lord, we're going around the corner. In the previous game, Hero had his upgrades already at 2-2 at this stage in the game. Like, he was miles ahead on the Terran's upgrades. Another Widowmine drop going in. Yeah, and these upgrades make the gateway style so bad. I don't think you can really go for the gateway man approach and then not have really quick double upgrades. At least you need to be ahead on the Terran player in upgrades, and right now that's not the case. Right now they're even, but Clem is going to finish up 2-2 sooner. So all of these traits are just so good for the Terran player. As a matter of fact, these units ball together beautifully. Oh my god, he just blinked in. Okay. GG gets called. It's the Terran here winning 3-1 over the Protoss. But I do feel like it has to come with a little asterisk right next to that result. Because both players very clearly were experimenting, right? Clem going for maybe too many command centers. I kind of feel like he went too few command centers in the majority of the games. And then too many in game number 3. Which is a little bit ironic. I feel like there's a middle ground that we can be reached over there. And the games would probably look a little bit smoother for him. And then obviously vice versa. We had Hero playing some very interesting strategies. But then also game number 2 with the mass adept approach. And then this one as well. He just hits massive supply blocks. And obviously that really doesn't really help your cause, right? If you're trying to actually win. So this time around, it's a victory for Clem 3-1. But honestly, these games were, yeah, very close.